I'd like to welcome everybody to the November 10th conversation of Coaches for Racial Equality. My name is Michael Brunker. I'm your moderator. And at this time right now, I'd like to start our gathering off today with some opening comments from Coach Jeff Harper-Harris, the co-founder of Coaches for Racial Equality. Jeff?
Good afternoon, good evening. And if I don't see you, good night. First of all, thanks again for joining us. Appreciate everybody that took time to step out to make a change, and appreciate Mike mediating it. Each week we get better. Other week we get to the point where we come up with solutions, and we may not stop it all, but hopefully we can have that communication and be able to have our kids and athletes and student body talk among themselves to try to make change. And that's what Coaches for Racial Equality is about. Thank you.
Jeff, I appreciate it. Now, before we let you go now, I want to also let me get my agenda up on here too, if I can. But what I'd like to be able to do, Jeff, is I know a lot has happened in the past week, and we're going to talk a little bit about it as we get to the agenda in particular. And with that being the case, here comes Stephanie Brown coming in right now too. We know what the game plan is, and neither Scott or Joe Hines are involved right now, but we know that since the last time we convened 2 weeks ago, there's been a lot of things going on. And I think just from a proactive perspective, I know you've been contacted by folks, I've been contacted by folks. We're going to talk a little bit about it in a minute as we get more folks on here. But Jeff, since we last convened, who's been talking to you, and what kind of questions are they asking?
I've been getting calls from, different people asking, everybody was, we definitely appreciate Coach Dunn coming on. But there was a lot of people talking, asking questions like simply, still, you're not going to please everybody. So a lot of people thought it was simply a football game. I think a lot of people think it's still a Lincoln and Cathedral thing, when technically it's not a Lincoln and Cathedral thing. And sometimes it's irritating just to hear people say it's a Lincoln Cathedral thing incident, because it's more than that. I think there was a situation with Olympian and Bishop field hockey, and that has nothing to do with Lincoln and Cathedral. So a lot of the talks, honestly, I had some calls from the East Coast. I've had some calls from interesting calls from some college coaches, Black college coaches. Interested in, because the news actually, it got back east. Some of my buddies in Ohio saw the article about Coach Dunn decision not to play. And it's interesting. A lot of people thought it was about a game, and how many people are worried about a game, or, and nobody can tell me who won the game between Lincoln and Cathedral 5 years ago. And if anybody can tell me it off the top of their head, let me know. So that's what I say. It's a game. But yeah, like I said, the news people have reached out to me. I got a podcast with ESPN on Friday about Coaches for Racial Equality. What's the point? How we doing, and different things like that. So, and just a conversation around my campus, around the Lincoln campus with young people. And the thing about it is non-basketball, non-athletes, which was interesting that some of the non-athletes are now being discussing it. Ones that maybe we don't think is affected, but they really are affected. Sometimes people think because everybody plays, everybody doesn't play football or basketball. There are students on our campus and many campuses that are just students, they go to school. I think that's the same thing I brought up about Cathedral. There's students that are affected, that was affected by the situation, that maybe we not touch it. And I think that's one reason we have parents and students on the call, for them to express, the non-athletes. What are the non-athletes saying? What are the kids that got to pay tuition at private schools saying? What are the kids that don't get the hype on the Friday nights or the Saturday little jump shots saying? And, because their voices need to be heard as well. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's a bigger picture instead of just athletics. And that's why I say it's not a Lincoln Cathedral thing. It's not a Coach Dunn and Doyle thing. If anybody wants change, I think it's everybody's thing.
Right on. Thank you, Jeff. So what I want to do right now, if I can, is our first breakout tonight is going to be called In the News. and I'm going to share my screen right now, if I can, with all of you, and just give you a sense for what has been in the news this past week right now. When I come up here just to show you some of the things that come up, and somebody can just tell me how to get rid of that black bar. That'd be good. All right, here we go. So the first thing I want to talk about is, and these were all in the links of the email that you received. I'll drop these links into the chat, but we put the coaches, the recording of the last one we had up on YouTube, and people are watching it. And I hope many of you did. And for those of you that couldn't attend last week or 2 weeks ago, here it is. And we're going to do the same with this one as well. But a lot of people have seen it, including folks. There's been articles that were written. So this was Channel 7, KNSD, and NBC San Diego. They came out, did an interview. I was interviewed on this one right here the day after the article came out on the 27th. If you haven't seen that, take a look at it. I think you'll really, it's interesting, just once again, like Jeff talked about, the storyline, the questions that people ask, the narratives that people try to portray, and how we all collectively maintain the same voice as we're going out there, which is what I love about everybody on this call. Here's also the article right here. Here's a couple commentaries. And this was written by a Michael Odom, who's a PhD, a visiting assistant professor in African American Studies at USD, who wrote it's a beautiful commentary right here in the Union Tribune. And one of the things I want you all to look at too is go in here and look at these comments, because when you read some of these comments here, it's scary in a lot of ways, but I think there's no counterbalance like we see here. But read some of these comments if you can. And why they have to wait till a week? Yikes, it's still playing the victim. No, it's all of those kind of things are there. And it's just a study for what we see happening in a lot of scenarios right now. Here's another one that was written by the CEO and president of National Conflict Resolution. And talked about how it's bigger than football. And that was one of the common themes that David expressed last time we convened right here. And he talked about Cathedral in Lincoln. He talked about Coronado and Orange Glen, talked about a lot of things. And I was quoted in here as well at the end where he talked about, what can be done to make it happen. And for me, I believe if there's a victim, before there's any forgiveness, people need to be made whole. And that's what I think the process is. And I'm happy to see that Coach Dunn is working hard to make that happen with all involved, the community and everybody that's involved with this scenario. So, and then also too, Jeff was interviewed with Michael Flicks. And this is an amazing interview on YouTube. So I'll drop all these links into the chat. They're also in the email that you saw. And I think as we move into this topic, this next topic that we're going to get into right now, it's going to be all about in the news. And so I'm hoping everybody can then, we're going to talk about, what you've seen, what you've heard, what people are talking about right now. And also too, there's some other things that have been in the news too, as it relates to this. It could be from, what we've heard about Aaron Rodgers and, the difference between Aaron Rodgers and Kyrie Irving. There's a lot of things that have been happening here. So we're going to break into this first breakout room. We're going to go for about 10, 12 minutes. And then when we come back, please be sure that somebody in your room will be responsible for telling us a little bit about what happened. I'm going to put you in. We're going to have 5 rooms right here. We'll create these rooms and put you out there for, let's make it 10 minutes. All right. Good.
Well, one more time, what was the focal point of the breakouts?
In the news.
Got it.
In the news, yeah. Okay. All right, here we go. So we'll do 11 minutes right here with this one. All right. And here we go. So what's in the news? Talk about what we talked about last week, the things you may have seen in follow up to the conversation that we've had here. What are some other things that people are talking about? And then also too, it could be professional, it could be high school, it could be what you're seeing, what people are talking about as it relates to this topic of coaches for racial equality. We'll see you in 10.
And I'm actually a graduate of Inglewood High School. So, I think sportsmanship, and Inglewood High School and Morningside High School is kind of rivals like Lincoln and Morris High School. So that was kind of in the news for me this week because I'm an Inglewood alum, I'm from LA. But I think sportsmanship and respect kind of relates to almost the Cathedral and Lincoln thing, in a way, different aspect, but kind of similar.
This was my first meeting tonight that I popped on. My mom has been on, I think, these meetings a couple more times, but I'm kind of here tonight just to join this conversation. I don't know his name, but he mentioned it earlier, the incident with Bishops and Olympian high school field hockey. That's the reason why I'm here tonight. Basically, after my cousin is also on this call, she's probably in another breakout room, but she's captain of the Olympian team. And so after their team was called racial slurs by Bishops, kind of her and we kind of took it in our own hands to make sure it was heard about. And so I posted it. When my school, I go to Canyon Hills High School. We were going to play Bishops in about 2 weeks following the incident. So we had really built up that day, which was also our senior night, to be a highlight and a focus on racial equality. It got rained out, so we didn't get a big outcome, but that was what we were really trying to focus around. And then we had also posted about it on social media to get it going. But that's just kind of the conversation we're trying to start right now and hopefully get a result out of it. So.
About this specific situation with the cathedral, no, we haven't really established anything to the point where we have someone to go to and talk to. We more so talk amongst each other or with Coach Jeff or Coach Lonnie, the coaches, something like that. So.
Well, I guess I can give you a perspective from another school, and also I'm a coach. Unfortunately, I think it was alluded to by Michael earlier, is the greater society, people want to focus in on just the sport and the competition, especially since it's a playoff. So, a lot of things that get brought up in this regard with racial equality, it's so uncomfortable with people. It's very easy for people to just push aside or dismiss and get to stuff that's a little bit more, I guess, comfortable. It's talk about playoff positions. That's the first thing I heard after that week on the Saturday that the committee came out with the playoff seedings was, how Cathedral was seated and where Lincoln was seated and what division and whatnot. And I mean, that's in a lot of ways it's predictable, but at the same time, obviously it's very, very disappointing because you just kind of taken a lot of the meat of this topic and subject and discard it. And I think it's kind of pretty consistent when you look at it, when you're talking about this kind of thing in the professional level, as well as things that happen in college. There are a lot of in the news things with college coaches, and some of them got fired and some of them have a history of having bad relationships with some of their players who spoke out, during the unrest of the previous summer. And a lot of these things just get pushed aside for the competition, unfortunately.
it was a conversation between our kids, our ASB and their ASB, I think, cathedrals. And I'm not for sure. And I don't know if that young lady's, but they pulled me and Coach Lonnie aside this week and asked us, why did nobody really reached out to them? Because and they had some good points. Like, we know ASB does pretty much dictate on campus, right? They run campus, they run all the clubs, they run homecoming. And one person I heard from Cathedral said that
Yeah, muted, Jeff.
I'm sorry. Did it mute? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you now.
Which was an interesting fact, because then a couple of our young ladies who was part of cheer and part of the ASB said the same thing. Like, what about the non-student? What about the non-athletes? Like, Coach Jeff, what about the non-athletes? Why does it keep athletes? What about the athlete? What about the non-athletes? What about the non-students? I mean, the students that are not athletes. And they brought up some very good points. Because I don't think nobody touched on that. I think everybody was so being in the athletes, the football team, found out that the ASB at Cathedral and some students at Cathedral wanted to protest the football team and walk out of school and walk up and down Delmar Heights Road, and it was shot down by the administration.
The media, but and I did read the comments, and just the overall unwillingness of the Cathedral community to put themselves in the shoes of the Lincoln community and try to understand some perspective, immediately just to jump and just flat out say, oh, they're pulling a race card comments, instead of just taking a minute to step back and consider someone else's situation is just blows my mind. And the unwillingness to do so. If they maybe were a little more willing to step outside their box a little bit, maybe they would see a new perspective, and it just seems so resistant to it. And that's just what stuck with me since then, is that unwillingness to do so. And it was echoed in the comments. That's just what it seems like, I'd like to read the articles too. You did mention that they were very, very well done and very well written. I didn't, as soon as Michael said, take a look at these comments, I hadn't seen those articles yet, so I went straight down there, but I'm looking forward to reading them after we get done here.
Yeah, in fact, and I think that's why I give Dr. Odom's article credit, because I think he was also a city college professor, because he taught a Black Studies course at Lincoln before the pandemic. So he knows our kids, and I feel like that gives him the ability to write about our school.
Is done in terms of not getting vaccinated. It's their business, but at the same time, you don't have the right to expose others, and their health and well-being. And so there's just such inconsistency in discipline and who gets what consequences. So on one hand, you got someone in one sport who's, I think, really, I don't know if he's getting paid or not, but he can't play.
He's not getting paid.
Yet in the other league, you got a guy who is going to be playing on Sunday, and they're going to go on as if nothing happened and it ain't no big deal. And if I were the other players, I tell you what, we wouldn't even take the field. But that's Wendell Bassett's opinion. I just think that we've got these selfish individuals who don't mind. I look at that as like, you're in my locker room, you're in a huddle, all those kind of things. And we know that this stuff spreads, even if you've been vaccinated. And so what are you really saying about your teammates? And I don't know. I mean, the race piece, I agree with you guys. I mean, the consequences we know have always been heavier for, a person of color who violates a rule or a policy or what have you. I mean, that's historical. But it's so, so wrapped up in so many things. And, so it's a mess. I would just believe in being fair. It's like that, my boy Marcus, was the game with Denver and Miami. And, there was a hard foul that was given, one that shouldn't have been given. And then Jokovic, or whatever his name is, he comes from behind and just literally almost kills the guy.
Yeah. He drops. Uh-oh.
But hey, Butler definitely didn't let it slide.
No, he definitely did not. I'm sure the next game there'll be some chirping.
No, the big fella's gonna catch some heavy, hard heat as he gets in that lane. Believe me.
Not to mention his twin brother. I'm sure Marcus's twin brothers, or Morris's twin brother, probably do something too, because them two are thick. So
and there's the difference, right? What Jeff started this with. We don't want that in high school.
Right.
Them are professionals. In high school, we want them to understand that those things happen in play. And if they're deliberate, that's why there's referees. And hopefully they get it on this level, right?
Right.
Those are some good conversations. We're going to go right to the rooms right now if we can, and get our find out what happened in room 1. Who's going to be the spokesperson for room 1?
I will.
Okay, Mia, take it away.
I'll keep it as much as possible. It took me a while. Hi, my name is Mia. I'm a 11th grader in high school at Canyon Hills High School in Tirisana, San Diego. I play field hockey, and I'm kind of here to speak on what happened with Bishops and Olympian field hockey. And my cousin, who attends Olympian, is also here with her mom on the call. So please add in, because you actually know the full details since you actually experienced it. But basically, this is my first time at a meeting. I wanted to join in on this conversation because what happened is some of Bishop's players had called Olympians players beaners while they had played against each other. And following that incident, there was just a lot of inaction. I know Olympians parents very angry. A lot of the girls were scarred and traumatized. And there's been a lot of inaction following that conversation. And what we're trying to do is we want a result out. Like, we want there to be a change. We want them to learn from this incident. Tati, do you or your mom want to speak on, is she still on this call? I'm trying to find her. Yeah. Do you want to go into like the details of what happened, but like in a summary, because it takes me a while?
You summed it up pretty well. There were slurs thrown. From what I know, I actually didn't hear them being said, but I do know how it affected us as a team. And, being people of color, like, even if it wasn't said to me, I feel their pain. I felt that, and Al, the assistant director, I'm sorry if I got your title wrong, was in my group, my breakout room as well. And he talked a little bit about like resolutions that both the athletic directors were coming to. Yeah.
Bobby, can you give a little background of your school, Bishop's school, and then I can also add in like kind of where I come into this, but just a little context.
Mia, if I can add in too, we also do have the athletic director from Bishop's on the call right now too, so we're going to add her to the spotlight as well. So this is Paula Conway, and so we've got all of you in here right now. Okay, take it away. Who's speaking right now? Okay.
Go ahead, Ben. I'll let you finish.
Yeah.
Okay. Wait, Tati, do you want to finish your summary of the context? Just
sorry.
What? What's your school about, or what's the like how diverse is it? I feel like that's a couple important key factors, and like just kind of what went down that day.
Okay. Yeah, so Olympian, our team was very diverse. We have a lot of African American people, Latinx people, Asian Americans. And on the Bishops team, there was a lot of Caucasian people. And yeah, just words were used that shouldn't have been. And I mean, Mia, if there's anything else you want to add to that from your perspective?
I'm trying to think, is there any details, like anyone who hasn't heard this story yet, is there any details that we are missing that we can help give you for better insight?
So I was at the game as an administrator. I watched the entire game, a former college field hockey coach. So I truly, it was a wonderful game. It was super competitive and I love watching it. And I was on the sideline of our team. And, you know, at the end of the game, we had, you know, a student athlete who was on the other side of the field who wasn't playing, and it was a student of color who was not cheering positively for the team. And so what happened at halftime is the official came over and said, you know, you need to go talk to those fans over there. So I went on the opposite side of the field and stood with that fan and said, you will stay with me till the end of the game. And then we will go over and to apologize to the team, because I, you know, I'll finish kind of the story. And so I stood with that student athlete and, you know, stayed for the rest of the game and watched the game for the rest of the game. I walked the student athlete over at the end of the game, and, you know, the team had said, you know, we don't want to hear from him. And then it came out, well, you know, one of your players called our player a beaner. And I said, please tell me who it was right now. No one is leaving this field until this is resolved. This is 100% not okay. Like, no one should leave our field with feeling that way. We are a welcoming group. We have a really strong DEIJ curriculum. Not all of our players are Caucasian. We actually do have a mix, and people were really taken aback by that. And we've taken it very, very seriously. I called the AD and I watched the entire game film and talked to the coach and said, listen, I will come and watch the game film. Please tell me what number it was, who it was, when it happened. We want to get to the bottom of this. And it's kind of been not really pursued on the other end. And we are taking it seriously. We met with the team. You know, we met with the fan who was on the other side of the field. We had a whole student assembly about it. Yet again, like, I called down to, I know Canyon Hills, you guys did a great day where you were honoring diversity, and our student athletes were jumping on board, making posters and trying to support as well. I brought in, you know, trying to have a restorative conference. Like, let's talk about it. Let's watch the film together. Like, when did these emotions raise up? Because I went and talked to the officials after the game and said, what did you hear? Please let me know. I want to investigate it and go through the process. So as a female athlete, I mean, I volunteer my time every Sunday to coach girls who are playing field hockey to empower them to play at the next level. We are taking it extremely seriously. And if someone wants to sit down with me and tell me who, what, when, or where, I couldn't get that out of the coach or the program about when it happened, that focal point. Maybe we could narrow it down to a group of 6 kids. And so that's kind of where we've done really due diligence on trying to research, because it's not okay. We're 100% that, and not everyone is from the community. I mean, we have students who come in from all over, and we really embrace that diversity.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mrs. Conway. And we did receive these details. I know you did. Gosh, and I know there also has been inaction from Olympian side as well. If you want to speak on that thought, since you guys are in direct contact with him, I am aware of both sides. I said, like, I would like to know, and maybe like it's something that we wanted a different result. Maybe like what your action looks different from like my action. I think, is it Mr. Adlam? You have your hand raised. I want to speak on.
Yeah, I just had a quick question just for clarification purposes. Jonathan Adlam, Canyon Hills, Lacrosse. So the incident with the male student athlete on the sideline, that actually wasn't connected directly to the incident on the field. It was how you ended up on the sideline to converse with the coach after the game. So these are two separate incidents.
Correct. So like when
Okay.
they were kind of going through and, you know, I said, we fully take responsibility for the student athlete who wasn't cheering positively, like saying, oh, nice, you know, you missed, things like that were not appropriate. And they said, well, you know, you had student athletes calling names, and I wanted to kind of go through and say, well, who, please let me know who, because now the more people I talk to about it, like, for example, you're a player on Olympian, people are like, well, maybe we didn't hear it. And even the coach, when I talked to him last week, he's like, he could have said in between her, you know? And so there's a lot of like skewed information that, you know, like I said, we had the whole game filmed, and I've been listening to the audio and talking to the officials. So I just don't, you know, I want to make sure that if we're going to apologize for something, it's something that we actually did do wrong. And the student athlete's behavior on the side, I've said to the AD, like, we are happy for him to write an apology letter. He came over to apologize. It was a very serious conversation. So we are open to having a meeting. I said, we can get the teams together. We'll come down to Olympian, whatever we need to do, but we are hurting and struggling. I mean, our student athletes have seen everything that's been posted about them. And, you know, a lot of them in tears, like, we didn't say that, you know, we didn't do that. We would never want anyone to feel that way. And I know, Mia, you know some of these players on this team, and you play club with them, and I just said, please don't respond. Like, this is what social media can do, and let's try to work it out as adults. And, you know, if we have to get the kids together, we will. So we're really trying to do due diligence, because I mean, especially as a female AD, there's not many of us around, and we're really trying to empower student athletes, young women, to go what a great hockey game it was. You guys were great. It was a great match, and it's the last thing we would have ever envisioned, and especially in a sport that I've been so passionate about for so long.
Let me add, if I can, too, and we've got 4 other groups that we want to hear from, but the second huddle tonight was supposed to be Let Them Speak. And Jeff and I talked about this earlier today. And Jeff, look what's happening right now. You know, we talked about the importance of letting the young voices speak in these calls. And now we've got student athletes coming in here expressing themselves in a beautiful, profound way. Paula, we really appreciate you being here tonight. I think this is what Coaches for Racial Equality is all about, is bringing everybody together to have these conversations and more or less a consultation, because, Paula, there may be some things that Mia can help with, or you know, the folks from Olympian can help with, and we're all going to stay connected together here. We've launched it. We are not going to break out a second time, because I think we're well into our Let Them Speak session right now of young folks right now. But
And honestly, like me, I reached out to Lori Berger last week. You know, I've known her for a really long time, and I'm like, what can we do? How could we build this gap, this bridge? You know, even talking about getting middle school field hockey leagues together and doing this. So willing to help, willing to listen, and just like be beyond, you know, thoughtful of like what we can do moving forward, so that, you know, we can empower your Olympian team to have a great playoff season, and you guys as well. So happy to work alongside and create a partnership to move forward.
Let's thank everybody. Okay, go on, Mom. Go on.
I'd like to speak on the parents' behalf of Olympian. So I know that you guys have been talking about having it resolved already. And I think the problem is the information wasn't given to us as parents, because we were told that we were going to be given an update of what was going to come as a resolution, and we haven't heard anything. I'm glad that you guys had an assembly to talk about what is appropriate language on the field, and what sportsmanship is like, and because the sideline, the guy who was cheering negatively, he actually made one of the Olympian girls cry, because he said, don't worry, we'll jump her, for doing whatever she had done on the field that was against Bishop. And I think that, like we said, that was a whole nother incident. Now, the athlete on Olympian who was affected by that, who it was told to, she felt like she was almost bullied because that's a whole nother incident. And the way we were looking at it is, it should be zero tolerance for both the racial slurs and zero tolerance for the bullying. And I'm sure that everybody agrees with that, right? And we were told that there was going to be a conversation between the two ADs, between the two schools, and that we were going to be given an update. And as of yet, we have not been given an update. And I think that's where the disconnect is, because if the parents haven't heard anything, and neither have the athletes, of what the resolution was, even if the ADs are saying that there was a resolution, that's where we're worried that nothing has happened, because we didn't know. And I'm glad I came on this, because now I've heard from you directly that was a resolution, that you had an assembly to discuss what appropriate language is. And but this is the first we've heard of what the resolution was.
And you have to realize from an admin perspective, like, I wouldn't reach out to your families, like that's crossing the line. You communicate to your own family. So I'm just telling you from our end, we have been taking it very seriously. We do DEIJ lessons multiple times a week, talk about it. It's really rocked us, and we're constantly talking about it, and it's really affected the team. I mean, you can talk to the whole team about how many times I've been out on the turf talking them through situations. When they see all the posts about them that have been written about them that they don't feel is true, hold your head up high. Know that you're good human beings moving forward, trying to learn from this. And it is tough. And I really apologize that as a parent and a team, you guys don't feel the resolution, but on our end, I feel like we're trying to be as proactive as we can on that. So that's maybe reaching out to your administration and talking with them. I'm not sure, but I wouldn't necessarily write an email to another school's parents. It's just kind of what you don't do that.
So what we did was we actually reached out to our AD, and our AD told us that there has been a resolution, and that that she felt that it was already done and gone because it was resolved, but the resolution was between the two ADs and we didn't know anything about it. I mean, we're not.
I'm so sorry. I feel so awful that you weren't in a good communication. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it isn't actually an apology. I think the bigger picture is that because the AD, even at Olympian, and I'm sure many other schools, don't really know how to handle these types of situations because it doesn't come up very often. And so we feel like being a part of this conversation would maybe trigger some kind of education, that at the beginning of every athletic season, there's a parent meeting, that perhaps this should be a part of the discussion on top of, like what grades are required and that type of stuff, that what appropriate language is, what sportsmanship is like, that maybe the meetings that the coaches have at the district level, at the school level, and at the county level, that this type of conversation should be discussed so that they know what recourse to do if it does come up, and then how to prevent it in the future. Because this is the first time it's happened to Olympian and nobody really knew how to handle it. I mean, the students are then affected, and then we felt like we were left in the dust because we weren't told anything.
I think we got a good start going right here. I appreciate all the comments on this topic. Paula, if I can ask you to maybe do a little follow-up with Olympian, with the athletic director, make sure the parents get connected as well. But that's the four premises that we have: coaches, players, fan base, and then adults, the parents and the alumni that come in, that they're all in that communication mix. Mia, thank you so much for bringing this topic up. Before we roll into group two, I'm just so happy that this person did not leave yet, because we've got a legend on the call right now, and she actually put her hand up like she wants to say something tonight. You see her name is Pastor Terry Jacobs, but I've known this girl, this is the legendary Terry Mann, probably one of the most prolific high school athletes ever to come out of San Diego County. Terry, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna let you say a few words before we get to room two right now and see what their breakout came up with.
Okay. I thank you for the invite. I know you've been inviting me for a while, and I'm
That's
glad I
right.
came on tonight. The young ladies, I want to say this to the young ladies tonight. Um, this is something that just has not started. I guess what 90, what is it, 83, Michael? I guess
Yeah.
83, 84. Yeah, 83 when I was in high school. And all the racism that I experienced playing back then, if they would have taken all that racism in consideration back then, probably half of the stuff that's going on now wouldn't happen because a lot of the stuff was swept under the rugs, back then, and Point Loma was, we were the team to beat, but in the midst of it, we were all the N words.
Mm,
And our coach was an N word lover, you know,
mm,
and Santee, Poway. I mean, just imagine growing up, we had to run out of the school, out of the gym, and straight onto the van to take off before the fans could leave the building.
yep.
So just imagine what you all are going through now. We went through it worse. So if they would have nipped this stuff in the butt years ago, I mean years ago, half of these schools wouldn't do the stuff that they do now. I see Coach Jeff, he and I, we go a long way. I think Michael, I think you've known me since I was what, 4 or 5 years old or whatever the
Mm,
case may
yeah.
be.
Back in Detroit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And Jeff and I, we grew up in the gym and all that stuff, but just swept under the rug. Now it's feel that these schools are okay to do what they do with just a hand slap. And someone needs to take be the example people to say that this stuff is no longer going on. Now I'm gonna tell you this, and I must be quiet. I live in Georgia,
Mm,
Atlanta, Georgia, and I live 32 miles from Atlanta. Rather, I live in McDonough. But you can imagine that a coach told my husband and I that my son would never ever uh, be a quarterback over a Caucasian student. I had to take my son out of school. So it's just not there in San Diego. It's still down here in the dirty South. I have to teach my grandson who was 6 years old at the time where another kid told him he didn't like the color of his skin. So it's just not, in the high school, it's in elementary, it's in middle school. All this stuff is being taught at home, because these are little kids in our neighborhoods that's saying this stuff. But for me and my family, we like the advocates of our neighborhood. We don't tolerate stuff like that. I go around and talk to different coaches. When they call me up, I go to different churches to talk to people about diversity, because we are all God's people. And racism it's been going on too long, and it just have to stop. Somebody has to be setting an example and let everybody, the rest of the country, know that this is going to be a no-no for everybody. Well, I
Terry, for
thank you,
those of
Mike, for
yeah, but before you go, for those of you that don't know you, and for the 4 years that you did play at Point Loma High School, you then went on to go to Western Kentucky. At that time, they were one of the top programs in the nation. But for the 4 years that you played at Point Loma, and you were ripping and running out of those gyms, you identified some of those communities, and you left out the Fallbrooks and the others as well. But at that time, but what was your record in 4 years at Point Loma High School?
123-1.
Did everybody hear that? How many state championships did you win?
4.
4. All right. Terry, thanks for being here. We're going to come to your group soon. Next up is Group 2. Who's going to speak on behalf of Group 2?
I think our group kind of covered it.
Okay.
We had the athlete from Olympian, and so we kind of started talking a little bit. That's kind of where the discussion went, and then
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Group 3 then. Group 3, who's going to speak on behalf of Group 3? That's Coach Greg, Coach Jeff, Kirk Brown, Lisa. Terry was in that group, and Shalene.
We spoke about, I was telling them about some young people on our campus, some of our ASB, very intelligent young ladies and young men had pulled me to the side and asked me about how they felt or why the attention wasn't talked about about all students, the non-athletes. with the Cathedral Lincoln situation or the Lincoln San Clemente situation. And, I think also I've had I had a call from a Cathedral person who, we found out that, Cathedral wanted to boycott the football team and protest the football team and have a walkout when this occurred, but their administration shut it down. And it was interesting. And I don't know if a couple of our young ladies are on here still, but just to hear them express themselves, like, when they talk about it, how not playing the game Friday affected them, as well as the Cathedral.
I'm on the phone.
When Cathedral, when they wear their jackets or their Letterman's jackets, the non-athletes are seen as racist because of the situation that occurred with Cathedral. I mean, happened with Lincoln. And then the Lincoln kids, on the same notion, when they go out or social media, they're the ones who some people considered our kids quitters and our organization. We forfeited because we were scared. So these are the non-athletes talking now. These not the athletes that are we put on the high profile ones. These are young people who, as the one young lady at Cathedral says, she's trying to go to college academically. She pays tuition. Why should she be considered a racist for something that occurred on an athletic field and nobody talked to them about it? Nobody's talking to them about it. And I think some of our young people on our campus feel the same way, that it's simply let, and I actually had to step back and think about it. And it was like, wow, at least they talking, like they brought that up. So I don't know if a couple of my young ladies or young people from our school is on here, but they did bring that up. Like and I caught myself because I really didn't talk to non-students. I've been talking to athletes and I've been talking to, players and coaches, and even we never really had that conversation with the non-athletes, the ones that just go to school, the ones who don't play a sport, the ones who are in band, the ones who are in cheer, or the ones that are in, the science club. That it affects both schools, just like the same incidents with Coronado and Orange Glen. It affects the whole community and not just the teams that was involved in the situation.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Coach Greg Hoyd, you're on for the first time tonight. You had your hand up. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, actually, thank you so much. Coach Greg Hoyd, playing for Envelopes National College Recruiting. So we actually represent some kids all over the country. We happen to have some clients in the county of San Diego that we represent also. The mental health aspect of our young athletes that we're representing as far as helping them with exposure, it's tough. Some of the stories some of the tears that we have with the athletes and the parents, because they are frustrated. They're frustrated with wanting to do certain things or things that are some of the slurs that's been handed out, or just some of the establishing themselves on campus. They don't want to ruin their recruiting aspect. They don't want to ruin their opportunity to go to college. So we're just, we're here tonight just to talk about, I'm here with my other partner, PJ Dunn. He's a certified behavioral specialist for our company. We go in and talk to schools and campuses and athletes on just getting through the mental aspect of the $1 billion business called college recruiting. And so, we're just here to talk a little bit and be of help to, any ADs or any student athletes, because I know we're, like Jeff said, even in our breakout room, that, some of the athletes have not even been on campus. Some of the, including the students, and all of a sudden now they're on campus. What'd you say, Jeff? 7-8 hours a day now, and they're just kind of, it's all new coming out of the pandemic. So there's a lot of knees knocking to get recruited, because you guys know the recruiting window has changed with the transfer portal. So everyone's trying to be on first to get exposure. We're here just to help and talk and see if we can be of help any kind of mentally to the athletes and to parents or to athletic directors.
And to stay on topic too, we all know that in recruiting, and I did that for a few years myself, character counts. And so we know that recruiters and colleges are looking for people with class. And so I appreciate all that you're doing. Greg, thanks for being here. Who's up for room 4 right now? All of you, yeah, you've been up for a while here, but anyone else want to speak if any other topics happen in room 4 that haven't been covered?
Mostly kind of stuck to the in the news topic and talked about the how the protest of the game was handled in the media. And then we had Stephanie Brown in our group, and she shared the impact that it's had on the Lincoln student body as a whole, some of the vibes that had been on campus, and the compounded traumas that the Lincoln students and student athletes have had to deal with, especially in relation to sports, having the San Clemente incident, not getting a lot of closure there, and compounded with this, and just compounded with all the other traumas that their community has been enduring, and the impact it's had on students who are trying to come back from a pandemic and go to school and get their education, and how that's impacted the student body as a whole.
For those of you that are new to this call, John Pierce, who just spoke, has handled much of our social media. He created the Twitter page, the Instagram page, the logos, along with Lisa Soward and them. And so we appreciate, John, all that and he's coaching. He's trying to coach a basketball team at Mira Mesa. But Stephanie, you've got a football game coming up this weekend. What's going on at Lincoln? Tell us how things have happened since the game was canceled, protested last week.
It's been challenging. We met with Juicy, Coach Jeff, Coach Dunn, AD Phi, and I met with Juicy, still trying to move forward on the issue. But yeah, we're going into playoffs on Friday, playing Eastlake. We're really excited because we get to celebrate our seniors that night for senior night.
Fantastic. The Hive is alive. And Stephanie, thank you for your leadership. And you've been principal at Lincoln for how long now?
I'm in my 3rd year now.
Oh my, and you could write the book on all this with San Clemente and all of this. I mean, you've done so much leading the campus, but you got a great team in place, and also too, Lana's on the call as well. We appreciate her being here this week and all that's gone on, along with Coach Jeff. I mean, what can you say about Jeff Harper-Harris and the leadership he's given to Coaches for Racial Equality? We thank you so much for being here tonight. That leaves us now with just one more room. That's room 5. Who'd like to report out on room 5? Anybody? Well, seeing none, I'm going to go right to, and I'm so happy that she's here tonight. Robin Nixon, are you still with us? You have to turn your camera on, Robin.
I'm here.
Are you here, Robin?
Yeah, I'm here.
Robin sent. And first off, for those of you that don't know Robin, she's the athletic director at Coronado High School. And so, Robin, I'd like you to, once again, thank you. This is not your first time being here, but I want to thank you for being here. And you've been active and sending a lot of offline emails about what's happening in your world. Tell us what's happening at Coronado, and also the email you sent today asking about an idea that you had, especially, and that's where the theme of Let Them Speak came from.
Yeah, so I was just thinking one of the mission statements, I believe, if I'm right, Michael, you can correct me, is that they wanted to make, or the group wanted to make a video. And so, although not my strong suit by any stretch, I think it'd be great if we could get kids from, Coronado and Lincoln and Mira Mesa, La Jolla, Bishops, I don't care, but, maybe not a huge group, to make that film. I'm sure there are filmmakers, teachers that teach that. I know we have a film class. It wouldn't necessarily be, athletes, but whatever. I actually talked to a friend of mine who's a filmmaker and been nominated for Academy Awards. She said, I'd be happy to speak to the group, but let's start making that film, and that we can then show, but have it come from those kids. And I thought Jeff's points about how it affects not just athletes, but all of our students. It's certainly everything that we've been through. That's certainly been a huge part of our year at Coronado after last spring. So, I mean, I'm not much, I've never made film and I'm not very creative, but I'd be happy to try to put together groups if there's people from other schools that, 1 or 2 kids. I mean, obviously you can't have a group of 50 people trying to make this, but I think definitely if we can get what a great way to have kids come together. And I thought maybe, I can't think of his name now. Maybe help with the third option. Why can't I think of the pastor's name? Anyway, is to have him maybe help.
Right.
Well,
Right.
yeah.
I've added Lisa and John to the spotlight right now because we kind of talked about that, didn't we? Having the student athletes put something together. John and Lisa, you want to bring everybody up to date on what that was all about and what's it going to take to get it going?
Yeah, I think initially it was, that Jeff was working with Norman a little bit and that you guys were trying to put something together. But then I think it was Travis Nichols, and John, correct me. But I think they had kind of a script and they had talked to some people and they were trying to get some people together to actually do it. And at the time we were in the middle of COVID, so we couldn't really get anybody together. And just trying to figure out how we could make that happen. But I know that was something because we wanted to put together a video in addition to trying to see if there was something we could bring up with everybody, before all the games that happen. Is there something that the teams can say before the games? Do we show a video and that's something that we present at the city conference meeting or, to some of the schools and all of that. But yeah, I think we would love to be able to put something out. We just haven't. I think it came down to manpower and COVID and time. John?
Yeah, I think we just never got it off the ground. We wanted to have a video from student athletes, video from student fans, video from the coaches. And I think some of it came down to not enough kind of hands lending a hand within the group, and just didn't get off the ground at the time. And compiling the videos, finding someone to video edit, and getting enough different student athletes from around the entire county to make it happen.
Okay, Mike Stutz, we're going to bring you into the mix right now.
Yeah, we have a script actually that John and we all created. We have a script for the parents. We have a script for the coaches, the players, as a commitment statement. I sent the video to John. I made one. I think Jonathan Adelin was making one. So I know we started that process. If I could share my screen, I want to show it's disabled. But we do have a script where players and parents make a commitment. I spoke to Mike Hopp about a week ago. I have a big tournament coming up, 32 teams, 16 programs, Thanksgiving week. And him and I, we wanted to take our work to that tournament. I've talked to Jeff, I've talked to John about this. And so we have some things we're going to do before games, very quick, right? Because I can't have the tournament falling way behind. As you guys know, you're there from 8 till 10 o'clock anyways. But I think this would be a good time, John, Lisa, if we could ask for people who support our cause, if they want to read from the scripts and make videos, start to accumulate videos, that would be a good starting point. We were thinking of doing something like where all the players and coaches from both teams are intertwined for the anthem. It's been done, people are doing it. It's nothing original, but I just want to let everybody know about that.
Jonathan, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I was actually in the middle of Coach Stutz pulling up. I actually pulled up his video. His video is 39 seconds. If you want to see it, it's literally queued up right now.
Let me see. Okay.
Hi, my name is Mike Stutz. I'm the head basketball coach at Madison High School in San Diego, California. As coaches, we stand together united in our fight for social justice and racial equality. I commit to supporting my players, parents, fans, and alumni in this fight for social justice and racial equality. Stand together united with us in our fight for social justice and racial equality.
Fantastic. Great job. So we just need to get a few more of those and make it happen. And so as we, and Mike, I appreciate you making your tournament available. That's how you do it. You know, you're going to get a lot of folks involved, but you know, looking at student athletes like Robin talked about as well is a key. How can we get more of them involved? But great work. Lisa, something I need to ask you, because you circulated, I think, an email or a text about how some schools want to get a patch that says Coaches for Racial Equality.
Yeah, I think there are some schools that want to get something maybe to like add to their uniforms or, you know, do something to add to their apparel. You know, we can certainly check on getting that. There are some sublimated patches that we could get. I just would need to know, you know, who would want them and how much. I mean, I can obviously do some work and research into that and find out, and we can put that together. I know at my daughter's college team, they do that. They have a patch on their uniforms, and it's up to the players. You know, they ask them, and would you like a patch? And the ones who want it have it, and the ones that don't, you know, don't need that. But we could certainly, I'll look into that and get some information, and I can circulate that to everybody. Regarding the video, can you guys get me the video? Can we put that up on our, because I can put that up on the Instagram tomorrow and share that out.
And that'll be a part of tonight's recording as well.
I'll send it to you, Lisa.
Okay, and then Robin, we would welcome, pardon me?
The scripts are long, like 40 seconds have to, but we can have people do little pieces of it at the tournament and then splice it all together, and I think it will be marvelous.
Yeah, but I think if we can utilize Robin's, you know, Robin's got some really good resources, and Robin, if you're willing to help us with that, we totally welcome it. You know, and, you know, we can try to splice and start putting things together so we can put this out to everybody.
And listen, we've gone beyond our 8 o'clock hour. I'm still on Hawaii time right now, 6 o'clock. But Robin, before I let you go, okay, and once again, I want to thank you for this wonderful recommendation that you gave tonight about this. But tell us what's going on in Coronado, especially as it relates to the Orange Glen scenario, and how are you doing? And is there anything we can do to support Robin Nixon at Coronado High School?
I think we're just putting one step in front of the other. You know, our community is split. If you walk around our town, you know, there's people that have inclusion signs in their yards, and then there's probably others that would never put that in their yard, which is unfortunate. So, you know, I think we're working through it as a community. There was the appeal, which I wasn't necessarily gung-ho about, but that wasn't my decision. And so we're waiting to hear that. We do have training on Friday for our whole staff in the entire district. All our staff is doing it's a racial equality training. So that's the start for us, I think, and then we're going to try to expand that to the kids. So we're baby steps, I would say.
Right on. Well, we appreciate you being here, and that's a start, and you come up with some great ideas, and so thank you so much for all that you've done to help make this happen. Thank you. All right, Coach Jeff Harper-Harris, closing comments.
First of all, I would like, there's a young lady on here that's part of our ASB that wanted to speak, but she didn't, you know, she's vocal on campus. So if I could, I would like her, because she's one of those, she's part of the ASB, and she's part of that voice of the students, the non-athletes. So Tiara, you on here?
Yeah, I'm on here, Coach Jeff. Hi, my name is Tiara Jones. I'm a 12th grader at Lincoln High School. I am the ASB president, as well as an athlete. I play basketball, I'm a cheerleader, I run track, the whole nine. I hear from both sides. You know, I hear from I heard it from the boys. I hear from our football players, how they feel about the situation. I hear from our basketball players. And then I turn around and I hear from our kids with the academics, you know, the kids with the 4.0 who just have their head in the books. Even some of the kids who don't go to the football games every Friday or don't go to the basketball games, they're affected too. They feel some type of way too. And it is like a lot of the attention has been brought just on the football players because of course it is their situation. It did happen to them, but it does affect the whole school. It does affect the whole campus. And I think that goes over the head of a lot of adults sometimes. And that's how a lot of issues go unsolved, especially around campus. I know a lot of people on here right now work on Lincoln High School's campus, and a lot of them can tell you there is animosity on campus. It is hostility on campus because there's a lot of things that haven't been spoken about. This situation was one of those things that haven't been spoken about. These kids, they feel lost. They feel like they don't have anyone to talk to. Yes, when the situation first happened, there was an email sent out saying that they had counselors for us to talk to, but of course that was during distance learning. We wasn't checking no emails. You know, we didn't care about that. We wasn't thinking about that. We were more so, why would they do this to us again? See, because San Clemente, that was the first time it happened, and I was there. They said it to my face. Those slurs, those racial slurs, they said it to my face. And we sat down, you know, after a while, we sat down, we had our restorative justice circle with San Clemente. But now here we are once again. Now it seems like it's becoming repetitive. This is what, a 2-year gap now that something has happened. So what happens when this happens 2 years from now? How are you guys going to groom the next students who this comes across? I don't know. That's how I'm feeling. That's how we feel at the Hive. That's how students feel.
Let them speak, Jeff. And you just did. And I see Tiara up on Kyle's Mountain too. It says you're multifaceted. Yes, that's right. But I'm going to tell you, Tiara, what you just said, you got to be seen. You got to let your voice be heard. And I think listening to what Pastor Terry Mann Jacobs mentioned earlier is that you stand on the shoulders of so many that have gone before you, and now's the time. I mean, that, you know, when people talk about why couldn't you play the game, when Coach Dunn said it's bigger than a game, it's bigger than football, that's the bottom line. I mean, these games don't need to be played. That statement was made, and how do we go and make sure that when you play, it's all about for the love of the game. For Jeff, you talked earlier about what is it to play with honor? You know, what does that mean? That's a CIF code that's been in existence for a long time. None of this seems like it's honor, you know, everything we've heard this evening. And so we want to be sure that we are going to be the change. We can be the change, and that we believe we can. And you're the ones that are going to make sure that 2 years from now, this cycle is going to stop. There's no doubt about it. So speaking of cycles, Jeff, Tiara, thank you for coming on. I'm going to let you have the final word, Jeff, if we can. And then I'd just like to, before Jeff closes us out, our next meeting will be on December 1st. So that will be a 2-week gap because of Thanksgiving is on the 25th. 24th is the day before Thanksgiving. But December 1st will be our next meeting. And we'll also be looking at, is there a better time to host these meetings as the season continues for basketball coaches in particular? So Jeff, close us out if you can.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody that came on, that took that hour to come on and listen. We those who've been here since day one understand the concept. And to the young people that came on tonight, I definitely appreciate you guys, because you're right. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes as adults, we get in the way of, sometimes we just got to stand back and let y'all. And I've talked to many young people, not only on Lincoln's campus. I do have some people that I know at Cathedral, and I know what they feeling. And sometimes as adults, we rush to try to save you guys all the time, and sometimes you guys need to save yourselves. So it's a task. Like I said, I've been getting hit both ways about, Coach Dunn's not playing. And it was asked of, what do I play Cathedral this year? How will that affect me if I play Cathedral in the tournament? Do I want to get out of the tournament? And people fail to realize, man, you talking to me about sports. And again, I don't think nobody texted me and told me what was the score of the Lincoln Cathedral game 5 years ago. So if somebody can, and I say that every day, if you can tell me who was the score of the Lincoln Cathedral football game 5 years ago, then we can talk about a game. But if you can't, that means the game really wasn't important. But what Coach Dunn did and stood up for, maybe some people don't get it now, but I think these young people will get it. I think the student athletes at Lincoln are brilliant and bright. I think the young people at Cathedral, Coronado, Orange Glen, they're bright enough to figure it out. And once they figure it out, I think as adults, we just need to just pat them on the back and say, good job. So again, that's what Culture for Racial Equality is about. I definitely appreciate CIF for getting involved and Scott Juicy getting involved. And at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? I just want to leave my mark. I may not leave my mark with wins, or I got 6,000 wins and 5 championships, but I know I'll be part of something, a part of change when I started Culture for Racial Equality, that maybe the Tiaras of America, my sons of America, and the Cathedral kids of America can say I was a part of that. So I definitely appreciate y'all, man. And y'all stay blessed and stay safe.
Thank you, Jeff. And before we leave, I'd also like to, if I can, acknowledge to Debbie Blanchard, who's back with us for this session. As you recall, Debbie, we held you up in our thoughts and prayers as your father was called to be with the Lord the day of our last conversation 2 weeks ago. Thank you for being back with us. And in your father's honor, Pastor Bass, I'm going to ask if you would pray us out tonight.
Okay. Great meeting. Thank everyone that's involved with this, Jeff and Michael and anyone else. Let's go to the Lord in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for a wonderful session, Lord. We thank you for, a wonderful day. We thank you that you're keeping us. We thank you that we're clothed and in our right mind. Lord, we thank you, though, for what's occurring right now. We have people on the screen now. We have people who are committed to racial justice, social justice. We have people on this call right now who understand that we're all created in your image, and that when we hate one another, Lord, we actually are hating you, because you've created every single individual on the face of this earth. And Lord, we just ask that you order our footsteps, that you guide us, you give us discernment, you give us wisdom, you bring us to solutions. Lord, you help us to commit to action, action that will not only build your kingdom, but will help us to walk in a more perfect way and create a beloved community. Lord, we can do it. It's just, do we have the will to do it? So we ask for your guidance. We ask for your direction. And Lord, we thank you for everyone who is on this screen. Bless them, Lord, beyond belief. Bless Michael, and bless Jeff, and the ones who are really behind what is going on. And we just thank you for them. So Lord, as we depart from here tonight, Lord, send your angels to watch over our homes. Send your Holy Spirit to watch over us. And if you're willing and the creek don't rise, Lord, that we come back here in December for the next meeting. It's in Jesus' name that I pray this prayer. Amen.
Amen.
Mm.